Here we are fighting for different issues, but we're all here for the same purpose, fighting against everything that is corrupt and for what is right and just.
in a really dark place. This is the polar opposite of that. I felt so alone and so light years past at the end of my rope from fighting things that are all direct results of capitalism, sexual abuse, illness, not being who I really am, fighting my family to hear me, acknowledge me, and accept me for who I am. It's a very personal story. It's an epidemic story across this country, across this world. I'm a brilliant young woman with a lot of vitality, a lot to give this earth and this world. And I want to try to stop crying so I can stay a little centered. Not that tears are bad. Thank you for listening to me. I've been really focusing a lot in my life about becoming exactly who I am. And I think it's in complete alignment with everything we're doing here, being truly what this world was meant to be. An interdependent web where we all can celebrate and honor our differences. And be in touch with the true essence, the divine energy, God, whatever your word is for it, whatever your word isn't for it. Connect to it, and in doing that, connect to each other, connect to the planet, all the sacred beings on this earth, which I think we should hold up here, not down here. And thank you so much for hearing me and holding me. I love you all for being here. This makes me want to keep going.
Hello. Okay. I just wrote this on the bus ride over here, so. I'm here to speak on behalf of my best friend, Chris Slater, and his talented sister, Tina Slater. On October 11th, just 4 days ago, Tina committed suicide. Tina wanted to be free. She did not want to live as a slave in this world. So please, support the movement and get things going in your community. Productivity is key, and Tina was always onto something, be it music, art, or helping other people. So keep your head up, let her be the seed, and we shall be her trees. On behalf of my best friend and his loving sister, Tina Slater, who died on October 11th, 2011, at the age of 15. Thank you.
We're all here for one reason, and I think some of us would like a chance to speak. Instead of being on the mic, I think a good idea might be to use your voice, because in Occupy Wall Street, they speak like this and everybody repeats. And when we do that, we have a sense of feeling. We can feel the words.
Dr. Diaphragm, who is it? You're rocking to it, come on. You both stand up. Yeah, you're it.
Stand up. Talk loud. Reach down. It's where you're like meant to be, right? Hold.
They've set it up. It's okay.
Sit down.
Good afternoon, everyone. So just before to begin, I hear there's some people asking some questions. How do you get on the mic? How can you talk? So we're going to begin, and then I think that there's going to be an open opportunity right away. So, I mean, at least I've been up here, I've heard that, and people are trying to scramble and figure out how to do that. So nobody's trying to stop anybody from talking and all that. But at the same time, people are really trying to figure out how to do this. So let's work together, let's be patient, and I think we'll get it going on. Okay?
Repetition and patience.
Repetition and patience. Well, in that spirit, I'm going to repeat what I said Absolutely. Okay, so in the spirit of repetition, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier today at noon, so I hope that it bears repeat. I've also have it written down, so I'm going to read it to you. So, I'm surprised by the last 2 weeks and impressed with the hard work and commitment that a large number of organizers have donated to this meeting and to this movement. I thank them all, and I thank everyone for coming today. Thank you. I am struck by the ready conversation and commitment to stand together against injustices and inequality. I am struck that a discussion of how we come to be here on this land and come to think we can speak law and justice here has been brought to the forefront. I am struck by the comments that some people feel emboldened to make. And whether it is because of the anonymity of the internet or because of an anxiety about how we come to be here and live our lives, venomous hatred, couched in bigotry and ignorance, has too often been directed at friends and colleagues. I will leave the hate-filled comments for now, but I wanted to discuss two kinds of comments that have been raised frequently. Firstly, the issue of equality. That is, we are one, and all part of the same movement. And the other is that colonialism is somehow innate to Euro-Canadians, or settlers as we sometimes call ourselves, and that it is the only way we can act. The first suggests that we are all part of an economic and social problem that somehow the rights of Indigenous peoples and our obligations to them are a special interest in a global movement. It is true that Indigenous peoples are entangled in social and economic systems often not of their making. But for us to urge Indigenous peoples to occupy the square today with us is an affront to the reality of the situation and the history of here. This square is occupied and has been via the Hudson's Bay Company, England, the colony of Vancouver Island, Victoria, British Columbia, and Canada. Notwithstanding these occupations, the Lekwungen, Esquimalt, and Wasanic peoples have never surrendered their lands, and they continue to persevere despite great pressures. It is because of this recognition that those of us who meet today do not meet under the banner of occupation, but rather in solidarity with the global movement to challenge the power structures that we face and are also facing the history of the place where we are right now and how we come to be here. In this way, we are not one, but we are many. Secondly, there is a suggestion that colonialism is the way that Euro-Canadians behave innately. Moreover, it is contended that colonialism benefits settlers and does harm to Indigenous peoples. Well, I'm certainly not trying to say that Indigenous peoples aren't harmed by colonialism, or that settlers do not benefit from these relations. But I think we must realize that these actions are not innate to us. They are taught, they are learned. And they do us all a world of harm. They limit how we think about ourselves, the care we offer to each other, and they reward exploitation of people, land, and resources. So I believe we need to recognize the connection between economic and capitalist inequalities and injustices and colonial mentalities, and work to believe that we are not stuck in these relations. We need to believe that we can work creatively and caringly for ourselves and for each other and build other forms of relationships. All of these issues really point to how we relate to one another, how we care for ourselves, and how we come to understand our obligations and cultivate our relations to one another. We stand in solidarity and applaud the contesting of undemocratic, unequal, and socially unjust features of liberal democracies and its system of finance and global governance. And if this movement can take a life of its own and go beyond Occupy and the concerns of the middle class and take colonialism seriously, it is our hope that something powerful could unfold out of the spread of this dissent. But if colonialism is yet again silenced for the sake of a settler Euro-American unity that glosses over the most profound aspects of the undemocratic, unequal, and socially unjust features of our present, then a generation may find they have failed themselves and each other by missing an opportunity to challenge the most profound political fact of our age, the fact of colonialism. If anybody wants to talk about these issues more, we've got a lounge over there, the People's Lounge, And next to that is the People's Library. We've got free books to give away and share with people. So we'll be over there to talk more if anybody wants to have that conversation. Thank you all very much for your participation. Stand strong and love one another. Thank you.
We don't use or experience the same methods that our ancestors did, but what we do experience on a daily basis are words and labels and the thought machine that others use to inform our identities. My example of this is my 8-year-old daughter. While at school, she had a peer who also, whose ancestry comes from this land before European contact, who asked her, "Are you First Nations?" And she answered, "No, I'm Native." Now this may seem little, but this is modern colonialism. What do we, whose ancestors come from this land, call ourselves? Are we Indian, Aboriginal, Indigenous, Native, First Nations? What the hell are we? This is our identity crisis. And this identity crisis is something for us as individuals to work through, and this is where the collaboration of all of us is imperative for us to move forward. We decided, those of us who are doing the acknowledgement of the land that we stand on today, to speak individually, to honor the authenticity and the integrity of us as individuals. That this is an individual, process-driven event to honor us as individuals who've come together to reject identities that have been put on us, to embrace what anti-colonialism and redefinition can offer us, and to more importantly just stand together and recreate our lives as we think independently for ourselves. So thank you all for coming here and for redefining who you are and what your experience is. Thank you.
For, re-inspiring me in believing in the human race, because today is awesome. Yesterday was awesome, and the future for tomorrow looks even better, because we're here today to take action and to speak out for the next generation. For my little sister here, who's going to be carrying the torch. She carries the torch today, and she's going to be carrying it for the next 7 generations from her age on. So we have to remember the next 7 generations are these ones. The next 7 generations are the babies that are in the strollers. I thank the children for bringing their parents. The children are our leaders. The children for their spirit, because they are picking up on our energy, and they're saying, these are the people that care for me, these are the people that care for my mothers, these are the people that care about my future, about the Mother Earth. That's the message that we have to remember today, because these kids right now, I would honor them if they came up and they spoke and talked about what they saw today. Today was an incredible day. Today is just the beginning of their future. Today is just one day of many. People are occupying the streets everywhere, from, like I said, Nanaimo, Cowichan, Nelson, Parksville, Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, you name it, it's happening. The power of the people. When I watched what happened to Egypt, walk like an Egyptian, that's what we did today. We walked like an Egyptian, and we did it. And we're still going to keep doing it, because today is just one more day. So when I'm talking about the Indigenous people, I thank you very much for walking with us, because today we walked very proud today. We didn't always walk side by side with each other, but we walked together in the same direction. And we reclaimed a little bit of, our independence and said, we're here. we're here today. I would like the Indigenous people that are in the crowd to please step forward and come and join me in this song. And join us. This is the one thing that colonialism did for us. 500 years ago, we were one nation. We were one group of Indigenous people. When colonization happened and the French married the First Nations community, they created a whole new nation. They created the Métis. The Métis people who walk in multiple worlds. I asked them to come and join us so that we can understand a little bit more about this history of colonization. Because today, we're standing in unity. I wanted to let the Métis Nation know that I've not forgotten them. I wanted the rest of the world to have a look. Have a look at all of us here. We are not just, people who are, out here protesting and that. We're people who are students, we're mothers, we're grandmothers, we're business owners. We're people who care about you and me and these children. We stand united today and say, we care. But our governments, unfortunately, when they label us, Indigenous, Aboriginal, First Nations, Métis, Bill C-31, like the list just goes on and on, we tend to lose our cultural identity for a little while. But we all know who we are. When the government tells us that we're the problem, that we're consuming number one, in income assistance, suicide, healthcare, we lack in education. Like I could go on and talk about those social issues. It's not our fault. It's the colonialists who are dictating to us how we lead. I actually had a small conversation with somebody here about how we are leaderless right now because we are the urban Aboriginal people. We're accountable to, or supposedly, I should use that word, accountable. Our band chiefs and our councillors are supposed to remember that we count, that we are band members. They tend to forget about us when we're living in the urban settings. Our provincial governments, our federal governments, and our municipal governments tend to forget about us, that we are the original custodians of the land. And yet they always remember when they're talking about social funding for, more health care, the amount of people in prisons right now. That is the biggest reservation growing, is the people who are currently incarcerated due to poverty. That's a shameful thing. When I talked about the Aboriginal children growing up in the foster care system, they're growing up in the white system. They're being colonized. 6,080 Aboriginal children in British Columbia growing up in the white foster care system. There's only 9,500 kids in foster care today in British Columbia. So that's an alarming statistic. That's 64% Aboriginal people growing up without their children in their care. So, that's the impact. I'm being told we're going to move on. Well, I'm not moving anywhere. I'm still staying here. Because I have a message. I have a message here. That we're standing here in solidarity here today. And you are standing with us. And this is awesome. So, the people united will never be defeated. 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 Hi much, Priscilla de la Casa. Thank you.
We're going to have the first item to just be a chance for people to share positively about what's going on today, why they came here, really anything that they want to get up here and say. So I'm going to point out who the people are that you can sign up and then get on this mic.
Thank you very much. I'm here representing people who are concerned about smart meters and the SMART program that's being mandated globally to power companies and then to people. And I think that as human beings we have rights to have whatever meter on our home or residence, and that includes condo residents and tenants of apartment buildings and whatnot. So some quick, simple directions. If you don't agree with having a smart meter, again, this is about the electricity meter that's on every building, including homes and public buildings, so it affects everybody. If you do not want a smart meter, we've got information. There are quite a few smart meter people around here, and there are also lots of websites. If you do not want one, you must write a letter to BC Hydro, because otherwise they won't know. It's a pain that you have to even do this. I can't believe you even have to do this. But you have to write a letter or email them and keep some sort of paper trail. And then you have to put something directly on your meter. We have this stuff here and on the websites that says do not install. You can make your own sign, you can write your own letter, or you can use one of ours, but you have to do this or else it won't show that the people don't want these. There's been a 55% request for a moratorium from municipalities in BC, so thousands of people do not want these. So again, we're all around. Tell BC Hydro and mark your meter. Thank you very much. We have to show some civil, peaceful disobedience. Thank you.
I'm not Simon, my name's Graham. I stole the mic. I'm up here today because I wanted to point out the beautiful blue sky that we have today, which is very unique in Victoria. Just a quick reminder. Now, you know, we have a chemtrail problem. Has anybody heard of this? Yeah, usually sunny days aren't found. But, you know, just a reminder, chemtrails, they're pretty indiscriminate. They chemtrail spray on First Nations, Second Nations, everybody. So keep your head up and get involved in the chemtrail campaign, because it single-handedly is the most obvious point that you can point out to anybody. You can't fake chemtrails. So if you've heard of this cause, you want to learn more, find out what you can, because it affects all of us. And if your philosophy doesn't grow corn, then we don't want to hear about it. So keep that in mind as they spray day by day, killing our soil, animals, people, everywhere. It's called stratospherical geoengineering, which is supposed to offset the effects of global warming by dumping 40 million tons of aluminum in our atmosphere. You can see this daily, excluding today, thank God. And we've got to make a change, so point that out to people, pay attention, look at it, and point it out to cops when you see them. Thank you very much.
All right, Simon number 2, I see you sitting there. Are you coming up?
So this is my personal side now. I'm no longer being a facilitator. This is just me speaking for myself. Hello and welcome. I already did that for you guys before. I lived in Japan for a year, and in Japan they've got a really deep respect for ancestor worship. They believe that those who have gone before us have changed things already, and that we need to respect and help them to change that. On my own side of things, my grandfather fought, as many of our grandfathers and grandmothers fought, in World War II. He never spoke about the war all that much, but he told me that he fought for his family's freedom. He told me that he fought so he could go to work, get paid decent wages, so he could vote in a fair and democratic way, and so that he could raise his children to be educated and productive members of society. Not only has democracy failed us now, but I feel that the actions of the 1% are a slap in the face to the men and women who fought with courage and bravery. With regard to war itself, no war is beneficial. Now our women and men, our brothers and sisters, our wives and husbands, sons and daughters are fighting again. But what for now? Oil? The US ideological ideals of their own failed democracy? or personal monetary gains of the 1% to keep the war machine moving. Regardless, we've gathered here today to fight for us, so that we may live in a society where our children can grow up to be productive members of our society. We're here to get change so we can live in a place where we are free to choose a work of our liking, where we are guaranteed a fair and decent wage, and where we're able to participate in our own governance in a fair, just, and democratic way, free from tyranny and oppression. As part of the 1015 movement, an online virtual assembly was held on October 8th and 9th. I had the greatest opportunity to speak to a man from Egypt. This proved to be, to me, most inspirational. We began to talk, and I asked him, how are you managing? He said, we're alive, we're fighting, we want peace. How about you? To which I replied, we're hanging in, we're fighting, we're refusing to back down. Whoa, what a perspective. We basically had said the same thing, and yet I see on the news that it's completely different than what we've got here in Canada. This gave me such a sense of solidarity. Here we are, fighting for different issues, but we're all here for the same purpose, fighting against everything that is corrupt and for what is right and just. Later in our discussion, we turned our attention to the movement as a whole. He said, you know, there are men and women here who sit day after day occupying our square, and they pray for you. They pray for all of your collective wisdom in that you may be the change and affect change on your first world leaders, in the hopes that the first world leaders will be able to influence or change the third world leaders' ideological paths. This struck me, this hit me deep. To be honest, I even had a few tears on that as I told him that I would stand with him in solidarity. He said, if I know that you and all of your people are here on the 15th, I will be able to go on the 16th. We probably spoke for about an hour on this online thing. It was pretty cool. Got to hear his voice, got to talk to him. We arranged that we'd meet the next day online on the same assembly website, and I read in the news that there was some massive protest breakdowns in Cairo. I didn't hear from him since. He still told me, though, I will think of you and I will take strength that you and yours will be marching together with us, that you are in my heart and mind. And I tearily told him the same. Today, as I marched, as I stood here with all of you, as I looked back on the legislature and saw the multitude of faces who are here together, I remembered that somewhere in Egypt, an unnamed Egyptian was right now thinking of all of us. All of his compatriots who are taking strength in our movement. And I stand today here before you in solidarity with my brothers and sisters around the world who are fighting for truth, justice, and the right to a fair and democratic government process. We are all the 99%. Thank you all for coming, and thanks for listening.